Hello, everybody. My name is Christina Magro, and I just want to thank you for tuning in to the Please Hustle Responsibly podcast. Today, I have Matt Cole with me and Chef Jup from Frontier and Ina Maes. And how are you feeling today, Matt Cole?
I'm great. I'm really enjoying this warmer weather. It's been a real nice turnaround. And I've also been getting a bunch of texts from my sister with pictures of her new kids that were just born last week. So that's been fucking great. Like it makes me super happy to wake up to those little guys every day. How are you doing, Max?
I'm doing really
I'm
well. Oh, you talking to me or her? I thought you said, "How you doing, man?"
No, how
Uh,
you doing, Max?
Go ahead.
I'm doing good. Sun is shining here in Chicago. It's melting all of the snow. I feel like the sun is a game changer just for mood's sake. I'm excited. You're seeing like small little sprinkles of spring here. We got like a whole 40-degree day the other day. So it's like, just celebrating the small victories. How are you doing, Chef Jude?
I'm doing really well. The sun is nice to have. Chicago tends to do that to you. Just when you think it's the worst, it turns around and you're like, it's not too bad. So yeah, the snow's disappearing, and like you said, the moods are getting better around here too.
Yeah, it's so important. And I feel like we just went from getting dumped on with snow to like a little hearing birds chirping. So that's huge. But we're going to jump right into it. And Chef Jupe is somebody that I've always admired from afar. So I'm really excited to have this conversation today. And for folks who aren't in the Chicagoland area, do you mind telling us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so I'm Chef Jupiter. I have Frontier Restaurant as well as Ina Maes Tavern here in Chicago. Both of them are in a Wicker Park neighborhood. I've had Frontier now, was just 10 years in February,
Oh
earlier this
yeah.
month. Yeah, Facebook gave me the reminder. And Ina May I've had now for, we're going on 3 years over here. You know, just the pandemic life in the restaurant industry, has been, tough to say the least. But it's I think it's created, uh, you know, a different character in myself, and it's made me appreciate, everything a lot more, as well as, uh, want to fight harder, once we get back into, more and more stages of our, normal lives or whatever. And so, yeah, I've been here in Chicago now since 2003. I've worked in quite a few places here. I taught culinary school over at Washburn for a little bit. Um, but yeah, I love Southern flavors, being from New Orleans. And so that's always kind of been in, whether at the very forefront, like at Ina May, or, Frontier's always had, those Southern hues, to the menus and to kind of the way we do things over there. And so yeah, that's a little bit about me.
Nice. So something that I've always noticed and heard of is how involved that you are with the community, even pre-pandemic. So has that always been something that you've has that always been like a style of your hospitality, or is that something that's always just been really important to you that you bring into the places that you work?
It's always been something that's been important to me, because I became an executive chef when I was pretty young. I was like 22, and so I've had a lot of control over my, kind of environment for quite some time now. And one thing that I always, I still to this day, I think that if you have a platform or you have access to a platform, you have to utilize it, and some people, it could be they use your platform to get money, get power, to give back or whatever. but my little platform that I've created, allows me to touch people through food, and I really enjoy it. I started cooking when I was 15 years old, and so in a restaurant, and so for me, I try to do a lot in the Black community, mainly because a lot of people don't do a lot in the Black community, or just specifically for Black people. And so, and create opportunities, that's the biggest thing that Blacks lack in our communities, is an opportunity. It's not that, we don't want to do these things, or we don't have great dreams or aspirations. It's that, it's not, we can't access it, and so, if anyone tells me that it's a young person that wants to be a chef, and they want to get into my restaurants in any capacity, then I'm gonna make sure they get into the restaurants, because I feel like that is huge, to be given an opportunity. And I've seen it work, and I've had, high school students that's working with me that was, traveling from the South Side, Deep South, traveling from West Sides, and having a job and maintaining a job and learning new things. And I think that is one of the main things that, I can do to give back. And I try to do it as much as possible.
That's incredible.
Yeah,
So
man.
how did you start? Like, what led you to the kitchen? How did you start cooking?
I started cooking with my grandmother when I was really young. And so I really appreciated, you know, learning the flavors, and this food in New Orleans is so different from everywhere you go. And I feel like if you know how to cook down in New Orleans, you've at least heard of or touched of some ingredients that are involved in Spanish, Italian, and some Caribbean foods. It has a little bit of all that in it, and so um, you know, I just lost where the hell I was going. Take that back. Let's stop there and take that back. Yeah, say that where we started from, and we'll start over.
What led you into kitchens?
Yeah, that's where we're at. Okay. All right. And so I started cooking with my grandmother just casually in the house, but she took me to this cooking class in New Orleans. It was the New Orleans School of Cooking. And I was probably like, I don't know, maybe like 13, 14 years old, something like that. And Chef Elliot Roussel, he was the executive chef at Brennan's at the time. He's not living anymore now, but he was the guy, because he worked as a dishwasher all the way up to executive chef at Brennan's. At the time he was running Brennan's, Brennan's was like, at the top of the game. And so I went to that class. We did red beans, we did gumbo, and we did a pineapple coconut bread pudding. And so that was my first time seeing a chef, like face to face, and getting to see like the professional side of it all. I watched some Paul Prudhomme on TV and stuff like that, but like that was kind of the first one that I actually met. And so, that kind of like really sparked the interest. And I would be cooking at home all the time, and even going into high school, my friends would be coming over, I'd be cooking stuff for them all the time. And so people in high school, they all knew I cooked. And then I did work study, to help pay for my high school or whatever. And I worked in the kitchen. And so there was a guy there, his name was Wade. He was like this older Black guy, but Wade was like cool, like Jerry Curl, smoked a ton of cigarettes and stuff. And so like everybody was cool with Wade, and Wade was actually a really, really good cook, but he had, he was very content, being the high school chef, and but I was learning a lot of stuff from him too, while I was working. And even when I decided to go to culinary school, I went to Wade. I'm like, hey, Wade, I'm going to culinary school. And he's like, what you going to culinary school for? You can stay here, work with me, and learn, like learn all the stuff that I know or whatever. I'm like, nah, Wade, I think I'm okay on that. But but it was all kind of like just layering. But while in high school, a guy in my class, his name's Preston. His family was friends with restaurant owners, and on the West Bank, right? It was a place called Aurora Steakhouse. And so that's the type of differences. And that was, I guess, a benefit from going to a Catholic school, going to school with some people that were wealthy and that had families that knew restaurateurs and all that stuff, because you take that to the opposite side. Like when I go to Fanger High School, on 114th and Halsted, to coach their high school team, like a good chance that their parents don't know some restaurateurs that could get them in a job like that. And, like we don't have those same setups, and so Preston was like, hey, I know you like to cook, they're looking for a cook over there. You want to go work? And I was like, yeah, I'd love to go work, but I wasn't driving. And then it was on the West Bank. I lived uptown at the time. And so, the commute thing could be a little tough. I had to be dropped off, obviously. But I was a junior in high school, right? And so I went to my mom, I'm like, hey, I want to go and try to work at this place. And so she was all for it. And so she would drop me off all the time. And then my high school girlfriend was a year and a half older than me or something like that. And so she was driving, and so she would be dropping me off to work and stuff all the time. And so I was getting there, and I worked the fry station over there at this place, and it was crazy. Like, it was busy, all you can eat catfish on Thursdays. I'll never forget that in my life, but, because I was young, but they didn't treat me like I was young.
Yeah.
And I don't treat my kids, when I get, like young high school students, I don't treat them like they're high school students. I'm like, look, you're getting paid. And then in Chicago, minimum wage is about to be $15 an hour, and while I'm for that for a lot of reasons, I'm also against it because I can't take in high school students that don't know anything and pay them $15 an hour. We just don't have that money, and, we just can't do it, and the laws don't really allow me to do, anything but pay them. If I don't pay them 15, then that's illegal,
Yeah.
And so, like stuff like that, it really sucks because like the programs are so important, and in the communities, in these high schools, a lot of the culinary teams, there was a ton of them. When I helped mentor the Simeon team, and they won a state. They ended up going to South Carolina somewhere. Yeah, but it's a lot of, but you need those programs to develop these chefs, and develop, inspire these kids and give them opportunities to be better prepared. But yeah, I mean, it's like for me, cooking has always been a way for me to share a talent that I feel like I was just kind of born with, to be honest with you. Like you can continue to like hone it and all that stuff, but I've been seasoning food the right way since I was 8, and so it's cool, but while working at that place, it allowed me to decide if I really wanted to do the cooking thing, because I think a lot of people were going to culinary school and then, spending all the money and graduating and then getting into a restaurant and then figuring out they hate it. And then, or like the money's not what they thought it was going to be, and all of that stuff. And so I worked there. I graduated high school. I went to Johnson & Wales University in Miami. And I did 4 years there, but I did 2 years of culinary. I did 2 years of food and beverage management, because I always knew I was like, I'm not going to be a 60-year-old chef, like in the kitchens or whatever. So I have to learn business as well. And so it was good that they offered that program there. And I was able to get kind of like the best of both worlds in that aspect. I worked the entire time I was in Miami. I specifically jumped around at different restaurants, just trying to soak up as much as I could down there. But I was working at a lot of Asian places. The first place I worked at down there was kind of like this. The chef was from New Zealand, and he had this place called Noah, which was kind of like Pan Asian food. And then he opened a place called Suba, which was super was more like that New Zealand. I don't even know how to describe that food, but it was actually pretty cool. And I worked there, and then I just I worked at the Shore Club Hotel, which had Nobu and a place called Serena in there. And so it was just kind of like, I really thought I was going to end up going in that direction with food. And it was a place called 190 that I worked at down there. And it was a small place. It was in Little Haiti. I think they call it it's like the Art Deco district or something like that. You know how they do all the neighborhoods, and and when I was at this place, it was like this little, looked like it's almost like a little house, almost like in the middle of this neighborhood in Little Haiti. And the owners were this guy, it was husband and wife at the time, Alan and Donna. And so Donna was this, like 6'2", like a black model woman. And Alan was this Argentinian, like rock star, like in the band type of chef. And so that place was very important because, and I lived across the street, like literally across the street. And so I lived in a place, but they pretty much just gave me the kitchen. Like once I got there and I started, doing my stuff or whatever, they was like, all right, well, Alan was doing everything in the kitchen at the time. His sister was my only cook. And then I had the most amazing dishwasher in the world. His name was Ronelli. And so that was it, and so every night the place, it was small, but it'd be packed, and they had live music, the place would be rocking or whatever. And I'll be back there just putting out all of this food, but I honed skills like crazy. And they allowed me to be creative and do my own thing on the menu. And so from there, I got a call to move to Chicago from a chef that I worked for at the Shore Club Hotel to work at a place called Narcisse. And Narcisse was a champagne and caviar saloon. Fancy, had Versace plates, like fancy shit, And so, which was expected because the chef that called me up for the gig, he was like fine dining, hardcore fine dining. And it was weird that he even called me for the job because we really didn't get along, like when we worked together, when I worked for him, and so it's kind of weird. But looking back at it, and he must have seen some other qualities or traits that I had that made him think that I was capable of doing that, because I was only like 22 or 23. And came to Chicago, moved, decided to make the move, took over at Narcisse, and the chef, Jason, he left, because they were supposed to be doing Narcisse in Miami. He was gonna go back to the warm weather. Narcisse Miami fell through. He was like, Chicago's too cold for me, I'm out. And so this was like months after I got here. It wasn't long at all. And I was like, damn, now I might get some other chef in here that we might not mesh, or the style might not be something that I want to work under or whatever. And so I went to the owners and I was like, hey, I think that I should be the executive chef. And so they're like, okay, why, what do you think? What's your style? All this stuff. They knew nothing about me. They didn't even know how young I was, to be honest. But I had the GM there, his name was Nick Lauro. And so Nick, and I still talk to Nick to this day, but Nick was like on my side, so Nick's like, yeah, man, you're cool. You should get the opportunity and all this stuff. And so Nick went to bat for me and they gave me the job. And so I stayed in Narcisse for 2 years, but the first year I was probably every day I was just trying to figure out what the hell I was doing. And then I kind of settled in. I got, smaller kitchen, small staff. I had, 3 cooks, and my dishwasher, Jose. He was a dishwasher at the time. Trained him up. Jose still works with me to this day. That was 2003. Jose still works with me. And it gave me a chance to, now I had to elevate my stuff, right? Caviar, I might have eaten caviar once in culinary school. They're like, you know about caviar? I was like, yes, I love caviar. And so, I go home, I start Googling all the stuff to figure out how, caviar. But I was finding my niche, and then I started getting a lot of press and all that stuff was starting to hit, because they were trying to do a revamp and make it more of a restaurant, it was clubby, and so that kind of started to trigger everything, right? And so it was a good spot to land in a city like Chicago, big city or whatever. It's easy to be great here and still not be seen, And so I left there to open a place called Bella Lounge, and Bella Lounge was a larger spot, bigger kitchen. I had probably, I went from 3 cooks in Jose to 15 cooks in Jose, and so it was a different challenge, but that too was like restaurant, and then like straight up DJs, club, place packed, like nightlife type of deal, but the place was extremely busy. I just didn't really get along with the management as much because they love the nightlife part, and it was affecting. They would get really fucked up in there all the time, and so it was all kind of stuff that was happening in that place. And I got out. I feel like I think I got out at the right time. They closed shortly after I left there. But it was a trying time for me because I got a ton of press there. I mean, this was like, cooking for Michael Jordan and all these celebrities and stuff. The entire Yankees baseball team comes in there, it was like that it was a hot spot. And so with that, I got a ton of press, and I probably thought I was a little bigger than I was, because I left right time, probably maybe a couple months too early. I should have secured something and then left or whatever, but hey, you live and you learn. And so I left there, and then I was floating a good bit, and I didn't expect to be floating that long, but it was like one of those things where I was still really young. This is maybe 4 years into it, and so although had been an executive chef, the big guys wasn't about to hire me as an executive chef, and so, it was tough finding that role. And so I think somebody recommended this opportunity at Washburn Culinary School. And Washburn is part of City Colleges. They had a restaurant inside the Sociocultural Center called the Parrot Cage. And so the Parrot Cage served as the final phase for the students before they graduated. And so I thought that was like perfect because, I loved getting, placement for African American, cooks. And so I was kind of like, I could say, hey, chef, I have, so-and-so John, he's great. You got any work, you have any spots for him? And so I stayed there for a couple years as well. But it was a little slow paced for what I think, like for that phase. I still kind of wanted to get beat up and, like late nights and all of that good stuff. And this was kind of like, service is over at 8:30, and, you just did your, 40 covers and, and so it just wasn't, it wasn't right for me at the time, but it was so crazy because they needed a Black chef there so bad. Like they were open as hell about it. And I appreciated that. And I don't even know if I might have gotten that job because I was the only one, because it was so crazy because in the interview they were talking about, just the experience level that they looked for. And I was nowhere near that as far as like what you would look for in teaching and stuff. Like, yeah, I know how to do a whole lot of stuff in the kitchen, but all the technical stuff and all that, I went to culinary school for 2 years, man. And like my core training has been in the field, and so it's, we don't talk the same way in culinary school as you do in the field, but they were like, whatever, and they gave me that job. And like I said, I liked it, but I think it was just a little too early for me, but this entire time I'm looking for my own thing, like that was the goal. The entire time was to find my own thing. And I took some lumps with that too, like I had a couple potential partnerships that, I wasted some time, working on that ended up falling through. And then someone had a mutual friend with myself and my partner, Mark, was I was trying to get her dad to invest in some stuff with me. And so she's like, hey, you know Mark from over at Lottie's or whatever. And I'm like, yeah, we met before. I don't know him like that. And she was like, I think you should talk to him. And so, she set that up. We started talking. Started with, he had Pony. The Pony was about to open over in Lakeview. And the chef is a good friend of mine, Curtis McGee. And so it was a lot of little pieces in there. Like one of the partners was a bartender at Bella Lounge, one of the places I worked at. So, like it was a lot of like, okay, I know him. And so I helped them get that place open, but it was still kind of like, okay, what are you doing? I'm still in that float phase, kind of freelancing here or there or whatever. And changed the menu form at Lottie's and looking around, and then we find the Frontier space. And Frontier, people always think that because of what Frontier is, I was like some avid hunter or I love the outdoors or something like that. And I'm like, no, I've never even been hunting. And so, but we allowed the space to kind of shape what the concept is, and so initially you got somebody who was me, who was all restaurants, right? And then I got my partner, Mark, who is all bars. He's had, Lottie's for all these years or whatever. And, he's a bar guy, and so meshing the two initially was weird, because he's like, let's put TVs everywhere, and I'm like, well, no, because, some people don't like TV and all that stuff while they eat dinner and all that stuff, and so Frontier from day one to Frontier where it's now are two different things. It has totally evolved, and we listen to people and we made adjustments and we failed, we've succeeded and all of that stuff. And, I think that we finally got it right. I mean, we're riding, back to back, Beard nominations. So, I mean, they finally noticed us, deep into the run, and so, I mean, it's, that was that. And, but Ina Maes was always a concept that I wanted to open. This was the initial one, but Frontier space didn't fit for Ina Maes for me, and so we waited, and then the Beechwood location became available. We was able to secure that, and it was a long build out. The building was old, and we had some issues with that stuff, but it was it was worth the wait. And we get people in here from New Orleans all the time. It's like, this looks like New Orleans, and that's kind of what you want. And without all of this stuff too, this is all leftover. This is all leftover Mardi Gras. This is Mardi Gras hangover decor. So yeah, but I guess that kind of takes us to now.
And it seems like your journey up until this point has been like very interesting, and you've done multiple different avenues, and you've been in different types of kitchens. Mm-hmm. So you've seen several different kind of kitchen cultures. And like, what are some things that you've noticed that should probably leave kitchen culture? And how do you see that change happening?
Yeah. And so one of the things that made me always want to like run my own kitchens was that I hated being in kitchens with certain people. And so, the hotel was one of the ones that was, because we had a big old staff there, and so you had a whole lot of personalities. You had, you had men, you had women, you had a lot of, like foreigners, like our islanders, as well as Latinos. That it was a pretty big hodgepodge of cultures in that hotel, but it was always full of egos as well, and you have favoritisms and hierarchies, and you have some bullying, you have some sabotage, and I think that the finer dining you go, the more cutthroat that shit gets. Mm-hmm. Because the opportunities is so fewer, right? Because when you're only in the fine dining game, it's not easy to hit the top. But once you hit the top, you're like, damn, now what do I do? Do I go to another place and do the same exact thing just for another 5, the Michelin star, yada, yada, whatever, you run out of spots, whereas my approach has been, I want to build successful businesses because that's what Blacks lack is successful businesses. And so when you talk about, a 10-year run versus, a ton of accolades and a 5-year run, or a 3-year run full of accolades. I mean, we see that all the time. It's like, as soon as you get Michelin starred, you better watch out because you might close down, because it's the pressure is so different. And I just read, somebody had sent me a text or whatever. I don't know who posted it or whatever, but it was speaking on that, when you're in it for the accolades, at some point, either you lose that motivation or you hit all your goals, and then everyone just judges you. It's like, oh, I went there, I don't think they deserve those Michelin stars, I don't think this and this or whatever, and the pressure is always on your staff and all that stuff. And so I just think that all of that stuff weighs in to the pressure in the kitchen. And so, like, cooks we've always been, pretty rough, like, as far as, the hours that you take and the abuse, doing rushes and, just all of that stuff. And a lot of that leads to, heavy alcoholism and drug abuse, and that's why we've seen that in kitchens for decades upon decades, and so I think that one thing that the pandemic has done is exposed a whole lot of people. I mean, it was once all this stuff hit, and everybody was running, like, oh no, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say that. I'm so sorry. And so, it was, hey, yeah, I knew that type of stuff, happened all the time or whatever, just because I hear it from other, employees or people that I've hired from other places. They're like, man, at this such and such place, man, it was, the chef would say this or whatever, the chef would do that, and so, yeah, at the end of the day, I think that people need to be just treated right, and you do what's right first, and then you should be okay, So I think that the one good thing of pandemic that's been that it has exposed a lot of the ill cultures that have been in the restaurant industry, and I think it's gonna be hard to bring those back.
So what do you think that like we should do as leaders to create like safer and more inclusive spaces for hospitality workers when we return after all of this?
Well, you got to hold people accountable. A lot of the fan favorites are a lot of the ones that people have these reports of being mistreated in, and so the people, like the audience, the same way that the audience goes out and they can yelp the living shit out of you, about a 15-minute wait time on something, like they can do that, in defense of places that, or in defense of staff or employees that have worked in places that they've been mistreated at, and so I think people have a voice now, like it's a bunch of different, websites and things like that where they can put their stories out. Although I don't agree with all of them, it's a couple of them that's like, you can just put something on there and no one fact checks it or whatever, and you can get destroyed, on the internet. So I don't believe in that, but I do feel like there are more avenues out there now for people to voice their concerns or voice their stories of abuse in a workplace.
So, as someone who, has their hands in a lot of pots and seems to be like constantly evolving throughout your career, what are things that you do personally to keep your mind right, like to keep your mental health going, like day to day? And then do you find that those techniques like carry over into your work and your like interactions with staff, or do you feel like you're more of like a private person?
Yeah. One of the things that I always said, like, about my establishments and my kitchens in particular, even when I didn't, have, ownership of my places or whatever, but it'd be very hard for you to say that I mistreated you, and you know, we had when I opened this place, that was the first time I had ever been like taken away from Frontier. I would be there all the time, you know, and so even though we had a GM and all that stuff, I was always the final say of everything. And so opening this place, you know, pulled me away from there, and it took, you know, maybe 2 months for things to just go. I mean, it was like rapid, you know, unhappy staff, you know, poor management. I mean, it was just like stacking up. And so at that time, it's always pressure in opening places or whatever, just because it's just crazy, you know. And then I had that pressure of people like not liking being there, and that was the first time that, you know, I really had a stretch of like people like hating to work there, you know. And so that was pretty rough, you know, on the mental side of things, you know, for me. And so like I started seeing a therapist just to kind of like get a balance out and like, okay, look, and I had never done that, never considered it. A friend of mine had suggested it because she was like, look, I see it faithfully, you know, I got my therapist to talk to her once a week or whatever. You know, but I didn't feel comfortable like the face-to-face thing. I was like, you know, I don't really, you know, I tried it and I sat down and it was like, oh, you're not really that crazy. And I was like, damn, like, I don't know, what do I have to do? Like, how crazy do I have to be or whatever, you know, to like have you talk to me or whatever, you know? And so I didn't want to get into like that side, like, what are you looking at medicine and all that stuff? Like, I just wanted some balance mentally, and I thought that I could achieve that with having a release, you know? And so I tried this, BetterHelp. All right. And so that was like online. They give you options. You could do, you know, you could have did the Zoom type of deal. You could talk on the phone. You could text, you know, whatever. And so that helped me because I started having a journal. I would write in a journal, and they give you a reminder every day, like, hey, time to write your journal, whatever. So I just write, like, yeah, that shit's fucked up today, you know. And so, but it started helping, and I suggested that to a whole lot of people. You know, and I started working out. I do a lot of Muay Thai, and that was good because it's a release of, you know, good release of energy. You know, hitting some stuff, hitting people, and you know, you know, kind of balance out. And then once I started to really see results, I was like, okay, let's try some other stuff now. You know, and so now it's like it's a real part of my, you know, my routine is that, you know, I'm working out. I'm, you know, I'm always eat whatever I want, you know, but, you know, try to, you know, add a little more, you know, plant-based into it or something, you know, to balance it out. But, and I think that that's helped a lot, you know, just feeling better. You know, because at one point you just, you know, I would, and I don't drink much now, you know, and at the time, you know, I was drinking, you know, say you drink. My doctor actually broke it down for me because I'm like, she's like, how many drinks do you have a week? And I was like, well, I really don't drink that much. I mean, I'll have like maybe one after every shift or whatever. So she was like, so you have 7 drinks, you work 7 days a week. Yeah, 7 drinks a week. I said, well, yeah, but then on Saturdays, sometimes I might stay a little late or whatever. I might have like 4 on Saturday. And then, and depending on what Friday, you know, like whatever. Like, so you could possibly have like 20 drinks in a week. And so I was like, yeah, that's a lot, you know. And so I cut the drinking down a lot. You know, it's not like I don't drink. I still have some cocktails, but it'd be hard to find me having a drink on a, you know, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, you know, or whatever, you know, just because I'm training the next day, and it's not worth that, you know, for how I'm gonna feel while I'm training the following day or whatever. So yeah, that part's been, you know, it's been a huge help. And you know, it's a lot of people ask me about like what I'm doing fitness wise, you know. I mean, it's crazy, you know. And then people start sending me pictures, you know, of from years back or whatever. You know, my partner, he has a ton. You know, he sent me one the other day from 2015. You know, and I was just like, damn, I was huge, you know. But yeah, feel good, you know, and I think that helps, you know, to have that fitness element, and then the addressing the mental health side of things, you know, I think it's helped me a lot.
Yeah, I'm just now realizing that. I feel like I'm starting my fitness journey later in life as a
It's
former
never too late.
athlete.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just like have always found it to be intimidating, but I was like, intimidation can't like scare me into doing nothing because
Yeah.
that
No,
seems
but you're not
hard
the
for
only one though.
to.
Like I was the same way. And you know what? The one thing that helped me, and this has been my number one suggestion of people that ask me, like, hey, I'm trying to get into it or whatever. Like, I know it could be pricey or whatever for some of them, but you got to get a trainer. Like, you got to get a good trainer at least for a month, because then at least you're gonna have the basics. Because like, I would walk into a gym and be like, all right, like, what do I do? You know, like what you know, you got all of this stuff around, you got all these damn people around and all this stuff, but you know, it was really hard for me to kind of get a plan together, you know, and so I got a trainer, and now, you know, I feel better, and I also feel like I'm not gonna hurt my damn self, you know, with poor technique and all of that stuff, you know, and so I'd suggest, you know, once you know, you know, and you might do the same routine every single week because that's the one you know, but you know, you start there. You start there. I'm a big Goggins fan. You know David Goggins.
Yes.
No.
You know, and so stay hard. You know, like he's a tough ass guy. I mean, you can't not watch him and not be like, damn, all right, well, I'm gonna get my ass up now. You know, you know, he has he's Navy SEAL. I mean, he's like everything. He's like, they say the toughest goddamn man in the world. You know. And so I started following him on Instagram, and he was a really big guy before he went to the military. And he always tells a story, like, now the guy runs crazy like distances and stuff like that. Like, I don't think I'm gonna ever be a runner. You got to be chasing me to make me run.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and so you know, like, other than that, like I just don't find any joy in putting on some shoes and running damn 6 miles somewhere. Like, I'm not gonna want to run back. Like, no way. You know, like, if you get me to run there that one time, then I'm not running back. Like, you know. But he's very inspirational, you know. And it's people like him that I feel has, you know, given me like a little extra push, you know, where I could have all these, oh, you know, I'm working a lot, I can't really commit to, you know, training, you know, I'm working a lot, I can't do this or whatever. And you know, I'm glad that I've seemed to fix that. You know, I got more energy. I got, you know, a 6-year-old that she loves to run, and you know, I have to have energy to keep up with her energy. You know.
So, what are some things that you hope that others listening to this podcast can learn from your career, like especially the younger generations of the hospitality industry?
Yeah, I mean, the hospitality industry is changing, you know, and I say that, you know, people who want to pursue culinary, you don't have to go to school for it. You know, you can literally find your chef, find your favorite chef, find a style of food, you know, that you enjoy and that you want to learn how to do, and you go and you work there for free for a couple of days, and you ask for a job. Like, that wasn't the case, you know, like when I was coming up in this, it was, you know, that's when they were still pushing the whole, like, go to college for everything, or you won't be successful, you know, and it was, and the culinary school was the biggest crock of shit ever, because now that's why they're all closing now. You know, they're all closing now because it's been exposed. My school, Johnson & Wales in Miami, is closing now, you know. I'm like, y'all owe me a stove or some shit. Y'all owe me something, you know. But so, you know, but like that's or even if you want to work in the front house, you can work your way. Like, you can go to work at say that you haven't worked in a restaurant before, you're very new at it. You can go work in one of the big brands, right? You go at one of the lettuce places, you go one of the Levy places or whatever, and you could get like their hardcore training program, right? You know, and they're gonna give you the whole nine. Like the big ones, they all have them. You know, they give it to you. You know, and so you take those. You can work there for however long you want to work there. You learn some of the good basics and all that stuff. Hotels are good for that as well. You know, just because some of the freestanding places, like sometimes even at my joints, like the other day we were short staffed, you know, like our bartending in here with my new manager, and like it's not ideal all the time for like a newbie. They might be like, yo, this is not what I was expecting. You know, but for us, we're like, hey, we survived, you know. But you know, so you can go and get that base training and stuff, and then you keep all of that information because there's all some valuable stuff in there. Like anything they give you, you know, you keep all of that stuff because at one point, if you want to be a manager, you're going to take all of that information that you've collected over these years, and that's how you're going to build your training program for your place that you're going to be managing or whatever, you know. And so I think that it's so many ways that you can get into this industry now without necessarily having to, you know, have these degrees and things like that. I feel like the restaurant industry has always been very friendly to those of us that couldn't figure out what the hell we wanted to do, you know. And so but once you get in it, you have to figure out something because I think it's time limits on all that part. It's time limits on bartenders, it's time limits on servers, it's time limits on line cooks, you know. So, you know, you have to have a plan other than just right now, you know. And so you do that, and then you can really chase your dreams. But you got to have a little plan. You got to have a plan. I ain't actually just have it all together, but you got to have a little plan, and then you get to where you want to get. Especially the cooks. The cooks, I mean, like, there's no excuse for a cook nowadays to not be in a kitchen working. No excuse. Because if you really want to work, I know every damn chef in this city, you know. And so we all talk about how, damn, I'm short. You know, he's short, you know, staff or whatever. Like, so at this point, if you're a cook in Chicago that's not working, it's because you don't want to work.
That's great advice. So that's perfect for my next question, actually, for you. Speaking of always having a plan and kind of mapping out your future, what does your future look like?
You know, I want to open. I'm going to open some more restaurants for sure, but I just don't know if it's going to be in Chicago. And so I'm looking at some other markets right now to possibly do something in. And so growth is definitely, you know, in the plans. Yeah, and that's kind of, you know, for the most part, that's what I do. I would love to get some real estate on the south side of Chicago, particularly in Bronzeville, because Bronzeville was at one point, it was like Chicago's Harlem. And it's lost all of that, and it doesn't seem that anyone wants to bring it back. And people keep telling me I'm crazy, and then, you know, it just never will come back. But I don't know. Still some real guts down there. I think it's you know, it's you should if you can, you buy up some stuff down there and hope to help curate you know, things over there a block at a time. Kind of what they did to Hyde Park, but Hyde Park had, you know, the University of Chicago, which had all the money, you know, and they can do it that way, you know, whereas Bronzeville just doesn't have that. So, yeah, other markets for sure, more restaurants. Got a little product line that I'm working on. So
that's exciting.
Yeah.
What kind of products?
Well, it's a few things that we have existing here at Ina Maes, the biscuits, the flours that we use to season the seafood and the chicken, and you know, we have a couple sauces, you know, on the hot sauce side of things. But my friend Stephanie, she bought a candy store. Stephanie Hart, she owns Brown Sugar Bakery over on the south side, and she just bought a damn candy factory. Place that's been there forever, and now she bought that. It's on like 76 and Western, called Cupid's Candies. So I'm gonna do a candy bar, and have a little juke candy bar.
Hell
I
yeah.
don't know if you might add some protein or something in it, like do like a little juke, just juke protein bar, something like that. I don't know. I do want to. I'm going to put an emphasis on following through with ideas that I think might just be stupid, because people make
Oh,
a
Yeah.
lot
yes.
of money.
Hell
People
yeah.
make a lot. You look at something, you're like, damn. Like I thought about something like that, but you didn't do it. And so I'm gonna do it.
Man, that's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Just doing everything. I love it.
I tried.
So I have one final question for you. What does the future of hospitality look like to you? If it was like a fairy tales and lollipops world where you can make anything happen.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I think that people are going to be, at least for the foreseeable future, people are going to be trying to protect themselves from, be COVID safe, not just from like getting COVID, from like your business, as like your bar or your restaurant are going to have some type of, COVID safe element, to it, whether you're more casual, more takeout, more, just hold on one second. Yeah. All right. So the future of hospitality. I think that people are going to try to protect themselves from failing during another pandemic situation, right? And so concepts are going to be takeout friendly, for a little while now. I think for probably for a long time. And I think that you're going to get some talented chefs and restaurateurs that are going to be looking to go from fine dining type of stuff to more casual. We already see that stuff, more casual stuff. So I think that you're going to have a lot of really good food and some cool concepts that are at, very friendly price points. And that's going to be a thing, I think, across the United States. Because I think for another reason is that so many places have been exposed. I mean, it was happening prior to the pandemic, but like, with the Mario Batalis of the world and, the John Beshes of the world, and so all of that stuff was coming out, but I think it was like, now it's like, all right, look, we're not tolerating that, from the workers side of things, like we're not tolerating it because, we have some options, and we'll tell people that you're treating us like shit. And so, and people are going to believe them, and whereas maybe before they wouldn't, if you had enough accolades or you were, a big enough chef or whatever, people might not have believed you. Or, it was so much. I remember, we didn't talk about that earlier, but like at one point, the chefs were so feared in kitchens, like that, you wouldn't dare, say anything about that chef or whatever, and, I never wanted to be that. First, no, I'm big enough, black enough to be fearful. No, like I can scare people if I want to pretty easily, but like I've always wanted to have these kitchens that's like welcoming, like I know that this shit is stressful at 8:00 when the board is full and I'm telling you that I need the same thing over and over. And I know that sucks, and so like you gotta have some balance in all of that, and I think that my kitchens have always been kitchens, and that's why I think people have worked with me for so damn long, like I got, my guy, my cleaning company now, Romero, he's another guy, worked since day one, since one of the first people I met in Chicago, and so I've seen his kids grow up, but you're gonna have a difference in energy in the hospitality industry, and I think that you're gonna get some good concepts, out of it. I think that some people are gonna, some people have already disappeared, and we might not hear back from them. I don't know. Some of these people are so, so gone in this city. I'm like, what happened to him? Like, I don't know. Closed up shop, ran away, you know? And so, you know, you just hope that you get better people. You know, I can tell you what I don't want it to be is ghost kitchen, damn city everywhere. Like these ghost kitchens to me is like crap. You know, it's like, it's the only people that's gonna make money in the ghost kitchens are the people that own the ghost kitchens. You know, and it's like, you know, and everyone that have these concepts in the ghost kitchens outside of like the big brands, Chick-fil-A's and them, that's like perfect for them because they don't have to build a brick and mortar, you know, Chick-fil-A with a drive-through and all this stuff. They could put 25 Chick-fil-A's in ghost kitchens and have it available in every single neighborhood. You know, like it's perfect for Chick-fil-A. You know, but it sucks for Lil Johnny's ribs, who the package looks good to, like, oh, I could get in, I could start selling my ribs, who everyone loves, you know, and it's cheaper for me to start this business, but they're bleeding you. Like, you know, Grubhub's taken from you, the ghost kitchen's taken from you, the credit card processing's taken from you, and so everything is pulling away from you, and then at the end of the day, you're like, damn, I've lost money, right? Yeah. I've lost money, you know, and so, and these things are massive. You know, you have, 35 kitchens in one, and one ghost kitchen site. You know, the guy that owns it pulls up in a fancy Jaguar with a suit on, you know, and from New York. You know, like, you're not even from here. You know, and I did the tour thing and it was disgusting. I was so pissed. But yeah, I hope that ghost kitchens are not, I don't see how they survive anyway. You know, I would much rather, if they were trying to do pre-pandemic was all the little, what do you call them? Like the timeout market and all
the
that.
food halls.
Food halls, right?
Yeah.
Food halls, that's a little better, right? You know, like, I think it's tough surviving those two, but at least, you got people, you give them a fair chance, like, to talk to people and to have, like that type of opportunity. These ghost kitchens, like, man, they just fill up Grubhub. Grubhub's disgusting. Uber Eats is disgusting. Like, they've made so much money during the pandemic, and they just send you signs in the mail, and it's like, put this on your door. We support small business, like DoorDash, like, get out of here, like, but I think that it should be like, once everyone's not dependent on delivery, like, it's got to be some parity somewhere in there. Somebody's got to pop in a little, small guy, small woman, that business that's gonna, challenge some of these damn Grubhubs of the world or whatever. It's a place in Atlanta. It's a company in Atlanta. They're Black owned. I'm forgetting the name of it, but they have this delivery service, right? And it's they got bikes, they got people in cars and all this stuff, and they just keep on growing and growing. And I was like, man, as soon as that type of thing needs to just grow, and because the local is going to support that, without a doubt. They just added Grubhub, and all of them just added a Chicago delivery tax, or this Chicago delivery fee onto it. This is something. This is a new one. Like, this is one. Before, they would just hide it all on like services and fees, and you'd be like, damn, that's $7.43 for what? And you have to click on it to see it. This is it says Chicago like food tax or something like that, $1.50 or something like that. I'm like, what the hell, And Chicago gotta get better. Or people gonna leave Chicago, like, it's already happened, and as far as the way that they support businesses, like, throughout this whole pandemic, I've been getting inspected. I'm talking about like the big places in Chicago, the big wigs who've ignored the rules completely the entire time, down in the Viagra Triangle down there, and like, they don't care, right? And so they've been open the whole time, no problem. Frontier, they sent the task force over there at Frontier so many times, and every time they come, they couldn't give us anything, like, nothing. Like, we followed the rules, like, and we barely held on by following the rules. And they just kept on. And one night, I was at dinner at a place, dining illegally inside the place, might I add. And I got a phone call, and they had the whole task force at Frontier. And so they're like, they all had police, firefighters, city inspectors, everybody, right? And so I went there, and I get there and the police are at the door, like it's been a goddamn, like it's a crime scene, you know, and I am livid, you know, and I walk in and I'm like, what the hell? Like, who's in charge of this? You know, like I see on all, if you really want to look, just look on social media. I see people posting in these places inside, not socially distance, any of that stuff. You know, like I got signs everywhere. I mean, we follow all the rules. In the summertime at Ina Maes, you know, I was probably had 6 or 7 times the inspectors came over here, all different times of the day. Yeah, yeah, like harassment, like blatant harassment. Like it was ridiculous to the point where it was about to be on damn NBC Nightly if they'd have kept on messing with me, you know. But you know, it's levels to the politics of Chicago, Illinois, you know, and we all know that, you know. But at the end of the day, you know, we run businesses that do follow the damn rules as much as possible. We too damn scared of getting caught. You know, we follow the rules, you know, and so that part has been, you know, challenging and a bit disappointing, you know, as well, just because we, you know, like I said, you know, it's easy to see the people who don't follow the rules in the city, and they ain't trying to hide, you know. So as we continue to reopen in Chicago, you know, we hope that we can get into a spring and have some real opening. You know, it's already been too late for some places. You know, like even this little, you know, now that we can go, you know, 50% or whatever, it's too late for some places. Like it's already over. You know, and so it's extremely unfortunate. You walk down Milwaukee Avenue over here, and you know, I counted yesterday like 6 police buildings in a row on Milwaukee Avenue, in between, you know, 2 very busy blue line stops, you know, what you would think is a very, you know, prime area, you know, it is vacant, 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 vacant. And you hope that it's attractive enough for some people to come over here, you know, but if not, then, you know, what do? You know?
Right.
That's always been a big fear of the pandemic. And that's why, you know, as you looked around and you see some places, some cities are, you know, are open and some are closed or whatever, you know, I'm all for keeping people safe, you know, but you have to understand what the results of that's going to be. And once you have commercial real estate that falls, you know, then the residential real estate, it follows behind. I mean, that's what happens, you know. And a city like Chicago that has been, you know, financially, you know, struggling, the state of Illinois, I should say, you know, has struggled financially for a long time, you know. And if Chicago can't support the state with tax dollars of the hospitality industry, then the state will go bankrupt. And that is reality as it gets, you know. Like, I mean, Chicago could be what Detroit was when Detroit fell. And people will be like, what? No way, no way. Like, how? You know, like, if you go downtown, like River North right now, how much real estate is available in River North right now? You know, that has to be concerning.
Yeah.
You know, that has to be concerning. You know, and, you know, love him or hate him, our former president, he said something when they asked him about, you know, the restaurant industry. They say, well, you know, like when, you know, restaurants are failing, you know, or small or closing, you know, all across the country, small businesses, you know, are dying, you know. And he said, the restaurant industry will be back. He said they might have different owners, but it's going to be back. And that is true as true could get, you know, and it sucks, you know, like it sucks, you know, but it's always going to be somebody that thinks they can open a restaurant or a bar or something like that, you know. Some will be good at it, some won't be. But I think that, you know, for us, we just trying to survive. And I think that once we get out of this part, we're going to be ready to make a push, whether it's here or wherever else, you know, Pioneer Tavern Group, you know, we're trying to grow through the rough times.
Well, Chef Jup, I'm really excited to see what you do moving forward. And I just want to say thank you so much for taking the time to speak
Thank
with us
you.
today. It was an
Yeah, thank
absolute
you. I
pleasure.
No
appreciate it.
problem at all. I love it. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Tell Beck I said what's up.
I will. All right, everybody, thanks for tuning in today. And as always, I would like to remind you to please hustle responsibly.